Why so disruptive? Why? Why do you have to be so agitated? Why do you have to, be so prominent, so loud, so screaming in your content? Being disruptive is a very useful tool if done right. Stick to the rest of this video. We're going to go over the 6 different steps of why being disruptive is so important in your content. Let's roll the intro. Why so disruptive in your content? As mentioned in the intro, there are 6 different versions of describing why being disruptive is so effective when you're writing email content. Headlines and subject lines have a better retention rate when they're more disruptive. Your subject lines that are a question are okay later on in your email writing sequence. As a welcome email, as a promo, as a product description, as to, empty cart syndrome, any of the ones where we want to be persuasive in the content, not just educational, but persuasive in that content, we want to use different techniques in our content writing style that help us become more persuasive, and disruption is one of that. Disruptive headlines and subject lines have a better retention rate overall to the reader because it breaks that pattern of expectation. They're normally used to seeing save 20% on your car insurance. Hi, Mike, and I'm wondering about, that's a common little lame type thing. But if you break it up where you say, you're losing money on car insurance, that might be a bit more disruptive to them. And they may or may not find that inquisitive enough to click on that. It just helps break their patterns of expectations, okay? Grabbing the attention of the reader in the cluttered, busy landscape that we are involved in every single day. They're looking on their phones, their tablets, their laptops, their computers, their phones when they're traveling to and from work or on break or at lunch or commuting, something of that nature. We don't have much time to get their attention. We have roughly 2.5 to 3.5 seconds, if that, to get the reader's attention. Writing a disruptive headline or subject line is a very good way to do that. It grabs the attention real quick because we're worried about everything else around us. Our brain is picking up everything that goes around us all the time. This breaks that pattern. There are some really good ones that have been used in the past that are more slanderous, but they work. Those are the ones that are more memorable and quite effective, to be honest with you. What happens when a subject line is disruptive? Okay, it causes what's known as cognitive dissonance in the person's brain, and that is used with disruptive language that challenges the assumptions or creates a sense of curiosity to the reader. When something doesn't quite sound common or align with our expectations as we normally would read or see or hear something, it disrupts our thoughts, our concentration portion of that. This activates the brain to think in a different direction, a different way, a different style. It's like, oh, hold on, what was that? Whoa, what did I just read? And it happens really fast. When we have a disruptive subject line or a headline or something, you're writing a script for a VSL, having the disruptive capability to grab the reader's attention in that little bit of time span, like 2.5 to 3.5 seconds, causes their brain to stop and think, which is sometimes what we don't want them to do as we lead them through the message, but we have to get their attention first before we can guide them. All right. This gives us the option to engage further with the reader. All right, so we can guide them through the message to resolve the tension that disruptive subject line has caused, or implicated, or given the reader. Your next part is the novelty effect. Okay, the brain is wired to notice new or unusual stimuli all the time. We see it, we do it, we don't even know that we're doing it. Okay, in the sea of predictable content, billboards, ads, listening to the ads on the radio or TV, when you're not even watching the TV, you're doing something else, but you still hear it. Those things break up that portion of what we normally see, predictable. And we want to do that by using unusual stimuli when we write our content. That's why we're disruptive with doing that. A disruptive headline or subject line or content right there, it feels fresh, compelling, different. It takes the brain to a different aspect of how they could consume that content. All right. It gives them that portion to think about. It stimulates the brain and rewards them at the same time as they continue to engage within the content. And that's why we capture the attention with the disrupt. The preview line is just as disruptive as the subject line. The lead content, which is always more than one frickin' sentence, helps break down that disrupt and leads them into the message itself, making the content more appealing as they go through it step by step. We've already gotten their attention. You write like a schmuck. Here's the way to stop writing like a schmuck. And we go into the lead content. Emotional impact is going to be our third reason. Okay. As humans, we make decisions based on emotions, not logic. If we have a disruptive headline that's emotional to the client, what the client's products, goods, or services offer, and to the reader's audience, and we're directing that emotional content directly to them, that segmented group, much more effective than any other thing out there, because it's speaking directly to them. And that's what we want to do. This often evokes strong emotions. All right. Like, no, I didn't. Yes, I did. Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. They're thinking, they're answering, they're absorbing it and repurposing it as they think, and leads them further into the message without them even knowing that they're consuming content. And it's a surprise. It's a surprise to them. That leads to excitement. Can a disruptive headline or subject line be exciting? Yes. Even fearful. Okay? With fear, you have to be careful. But it does work. And fear is not direct to the individual for the most part, but to the group. This tells a writer to add more content as we go, as we create, to help the reader's retention level. We do that, like I said, using fear, surprise, excitement. That helps hold that retention level. Our next one for a disruption is pattern disrupt. All right, we want to disrupt the normal thinking pattern of what everybody normally sees, hears, or reads. Our brains are accustomed to filtering out familiar patterns. Like I mentioned with having the TV in the background as you're looking on your laptop or flipping through a magazine or a book or something, you're still hearing, but you're filtering out what's normally just kind of background noise type of stuff. The same thing comes to email inboxes. We only have, like I said, that 2.5 to 3.5 seconds to get their attention. This is very important. That's why subject line generation, which is taught inside the copy shop, is extremely important. It's not part of the free program, although inside the Copy Cup membership, there's 2 or 3 training modules in there about subject lines. But the subject lines have to be, thought-provoking, attention-getting. A disruptive headline or subject line interrupts this automatic filtering system sequence that we all have, that we just don't realize that we're doing it or can visualize or even understand it when it is happening, forcing our brain to pay more attention. That's why we do what we do. It causes us to take the reader in a different direction real fast. All right. The 5th one is going to be the curiosity gap. Okay? Everybody is always curious about something. Now, when they read a supportive headline or subject line that is disruptive, but yet causes curiosity at the same time, that's a very good way to grab the reader's attention and retention. All right. Disruptive language hints at unexpected insights or solutions. This causes the reader to feel more compelled. Okay. Oh, I got to find out what this is about. Builds the intrigue, builds the curiosity. It helps the reader turn around and say, wait, I want to know more about this. That guides them into the lead content, which guides them through the message, which persuades them to the CTA. We want the reader to feel compelled. Compelled throughout the message by doing what we want them to do. Persuade them to click or move forward to the next step. All of this is starting at the very top of the message where it's disruptive, and then slowly breaks it down and leads them past the lead, into the lead content, through the lead content, into the message, through the message, to the persuasive CTA or other action. But we got there because we captured their attention with one of the many different types of disruptive patterns. I'm sure you're putting this all together as we go through here. Okay, the number 6, okay? It's going to be disruption through memory contrast. And how that works is common topics. Hear me out here. Make 10K a month. Why aren't you making 10K a month? Different twist. The memory that you've seen time after time after time is make 10K a month. If we twist it, why aren't you making? That forces the memory to accept, wait a minute, I saw this 10K a month thing earlier. That is our subconscious brain working, the psychology portion of how we control the reader's thoughts and perceptions with our content. We can use this memory through contrast after using some very disruptive content in the message itself. Not just the headline, not just the preview line, in the lead content, in the middle, and towards the end. We want to make sure that they're staying awake as they go through the message, and being disrupted throughout the message is a very good way to do that. And we do that with disruptive content. We reassure the reader, okay, going through the remaining portion, that everything is going to be all right, even though we're disruptive. We're saying, nah, 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 and oh, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. That's leading the reader into, through, to the end of the message. As we lead them through the rest of the message, we lead them towards a very persuasive CTA. And we can do that. Your CTA doesn't want to be overly disruptive. It wants to be overly persuasive with a little bit of disruptive, sassy language thrown in there from time to time. When you do it that way, you're sticking with the full disrupt of your message, from the subject line to the preview line, the lead content, the middle of the message, towards the end, and the CTA. All of that disruptive, mild or strong content is designed to lead the reader through, into, and through the message. The persuasive end of it is what we want them to do. And we want them to do that because our client is paying us to make them do that through persuasive content. So this is just another little aspect of focusing on emails. You can use this in content, blogs, advertising scripts, VSLs, anything of that nature, as long as you understand the disruptive content and how it works. All right. Leave comments down below. We want to hear what you think about the content that we're putting out here. Click the link to join the Discord channel. And from the Discord channel, you can get free access to the Copy Cup membership, which is almost 300 hours of free intense training like we're doing right now. Okay. And it's free. No one else does this. No one else teaches the extreme basics of how to write email copy and content like we do here at the Copy Shop. So until next week, get out there and prospect, will you? Make some money.